Hello out there. We're on the air. Welcome back, everybody. Everybody in the chat, I think it says 0, but I think there's some people in here. I see a lot of comments to fire up the show today. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. I don't know if we're live. It still says there's 0 people here. Hello? Hello out there? Still 0. Okay, well, we're going to hope that people, oh, there we go. It's restored, refreshed. Good morning. I was a little bit concerned there for 1 second, split second. It is gross here. It's pouring rain, pissing rain, some might even say. Okay, it is it's the Daily Bitcoin Journey. Another episode. It is Thursday. The Daily Bitcoin Journey focuses on actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. We got a good show today. This one's titled Lightning Could Strike at Any Moment. And we're going to talk about a couple things involving Lightning, including the Lightning Network. We're going to talk about some Bitcoin. We're going to talk about some business stuff and just the journey that you're on in your own life today. We got a bunch of housekeeping though. I think it's going to be, usually we take 10, 20 minutes talking about the Bitcoin news. I didn't see much today in terms of the Bitcoin news. So we're going to talk about some housekeeping stuff. We got some comments from the YouTube, and we're just going to have a good show today. I was up very late last night. I don't even know why, but a little bit slow today. I see Adrian's over in the zap.stream. If you're in YouTube right now, if you're a Bitcoiner, if you like trying new things, and if you want to help push the freedom movement and the freedom technology forward, consider going over to zap.stream, setting up a profile there, and enjoying the chat. Over there, there's no ads. You can post links, you can post pictures. It's a lot better than YouTube. So I would encourage you, if you haven't yet, try out zap.stream. That's where the hardcore Daily Bitcoin folks hang out. But in the meantime, we got BTC Backpacker. Good morning, everybody. State of Idaho? Is that a question? Or is that from the state of Idaho? I don't know. Carl, good morning. Crypto Heathen, good morning, everybody. Just bought a little bit of Bitcoin this morning. Just warning, y'all, it's about to dip. I like y'all. I try to say y'all whenever I can. That's something that you don't really hear too much up here in Canada. You hear lots of or I don't even know what other Canadian slang is. I'm sure you guys from the States, half this audience is from the States. So I'm sure you guys pick up on some of the Canadian things that I say. A would be one of them for sure. But I try to sneak in a y'all any chance that I get. So thank you, Crypto Heathen, for that opportunity. But it's to say it's true. And I go through the exact same thing. Every time I buy, I send a message to the Living in the Future chat saying that I just bought some Bitcoin, so it's about to go down. Happens every time, every single time, no matter what. Buy some Bitcoin, the price drops. Chipman, that's a great name. From Florida. Johnny, Tommy. Market doesn't open for 20 more minutes. Was there something before that I missed? I don't know. Silver Fox. There we go. Silver Fox with a nice little profile picture there too. Daniel, good morning from the airport. Where's Daniel headed now? He's like Carmen Sandiego of the Bitcoin Journey crew. And we got Silver Fox. It looks like he made it over to zap.stream for the first time. There we go. Some days we have just as many people in the zap.stream as the YouTube. And if you're a Bitcoiner, I mean, why not? We like YouTube for bringing on new people, for getting in front of more eyes, for having clips of things. But in terms of like watching the show, no ads, better chat, I shouldn't say better group, better company, but it just seems like a no-brainer to me. So if you have any sort of technical knowledge on setting up a profile, which I'm sure most people do, you can either connect it to your Nostr account, or you can just set up a new profile. And you can holy, what the hell happened here? Fucking, there's all, we won't even get into that. It's a waste of time. So I'm going to say there's just so many comments in my videos now about like different, it feels like we're in a bull run right now, because every day there's a different cryptocurrency that 30 people are commenting on. Today it was Revex or Rugix. I don't know. Anyways, let's get to some metrics here. Let's start the show off right. Where are we here? About, yeah, that's another famous Canadian saying, a boot. I don't think I say a boot. I might. I don't know. It's hard to really know your own accent. Chicago for Daniel. Matthew Hine says price drop then buy. 10 days of 365 are up. That's true. That's a crazy stat, actually. I think the most gains in Bitcoin happen like a couple days every year. Other than that, it just kind of goes sideways. And that's part of the show today, is that lightning could strike at any moment. But we'll talk about that in a bit. Let's get to the metrics here. Maybe before we do that, though, I have a bunch of housekeeping here to talk about. So maybe I'll start the show with a couple shout outs. First one I wanted to say was to our friend Maria. She, every morning on Nostr, she sends zaps, 30 sats, 30 sats, 30 sats, every single morning she zaps. And she said, she left a comment today on my post saying that she can never catch the live show, but she watches, or she listens to the podcast version every day while she's doing yard work. So I wanted to say shout out to Maria. Thanks for all the zaps, and thanks for the support, continued support. And I'm glad that you've been enjoying the show. Muslim Bitcoiner says, a solemn, since Bitcoin inception, MicroStrategy has outperformed Bitcoin by adopting Bitcoin. That's kind of crazy to think like that, but it's the truth. MicroStrategy, we talked about that yesterday, and I'm going to have a comment here from Chris about MicroStrategy today. Okay, where are we here? How are we doing? How are we looking here? Currently, block height 845,788. Looks like the fees have come down a little bit. Tuesday, there were 8 sats per VByte. Yesterday, there were 28 sats per VByte. And this morning, there are 18 sats per VByte. So lots of 8s in there, which we like. And it looks like Foundry's continuing to stack up the block rewards here. The price today, $68,000 US, 68,133. It feels like Groundhog Day. 66,000, 67,000, 68,000, 69,000 once in a while. But as we know, oh, I got the wrong thing here. Whoops. Talking about a screen. You guys can't even see it. There it is. 68,000 bucks. 1 year ago today, you could have purchased a Bitcoin for $27,720 US. And 4 years ago today, and I like doing the 4 year because it's very similar in terms of the halving cycle. The last halving cycle was in May 2020. So the price at that time was $96.82. And I think by the next winter, it was up to about 40,000 bucks. So that's kind of what we're headed towards now. Except this time, I think it's going to be much, much bigger. Moscow time today, $1 US will get you 1,468 sats. And the price today in Canada is 93,154 Canadian dollars. Looney Tunes money. Moose Jaw time, $1 Canadian will get you 1,000 sats, 1,072 sats. The deal of a lifetime. How's Zap.stream looking? Did anybody from YouTube jump over there? Looks like it. So we got Silver Fox, made it to Zap.stream for the first time. Let's see if we can zap him. 21 sats. There you go. Silver Fox just earned a total, I don't know who else zapped him, but a total of 42 sats just for joining the zap.stream chat this morning. And it looks like Vegan Bitcoiner as well. I have joined the zap. Let's see if that'll work. Let's see if they're hooked up. There we go. So Silver Fox and Vegan Bitcoiner both got 21 sats just for showing up in the zap.stream this morning. Adrian says Scheffler is off the hook with the, what does that say? I don't know how to pronounce that. With the law, though, I'm guessing he means. Yeah, Scheffler turned out he actually didn't do much harm. We were talking about that this time last week, I think it was. He was in a bit of trouble with the law for apparently running over a police officer, but that, as the video evidence showed, there wasn't much of that. Plunger. We got some great names over here. We got Silver Fox, Vegan Bitcoiner, and the Plunger, and they're getting zaps for showing up this morning in zap.stream. So the question is, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Let's start with a quote today, because this is going to kind of trickle into the whole show. And this is an awesome quote from Boone Cutler I saw on Twitter this morning. And the quote goes, "When you choose to live an authentic life and follow your passions instead of the crowd, not everyone will understand. But what you gain is far greater than what you lose." So when you choose to live an authentic life and follow your passions instead of the crowd, not everyone will understand. But what you gain is far greater than what you lose. So that's a quote from Boone Cutler. And today on the show, we're going to be talking about how things happen. Everybody's heard the phrase gradually then suddenly. But I like the phrase lightning could strike at any moment. And this is going to be applicable for people in Bitcoin. It's going to be for people who are starting their own business and for people who haven't quite got there yet, but are thinking about it. But before that, but first, as Julie Chen would say on Big Brother, but first, let's get to some comments here. I wanted to follow up on a few things here from different videos that have been posted in the last week, because often, as I like to say, the best information is found in the comments of videos, of posts. And so that's what we're going to be looking at today. We got a couple comments to check on here. Where are we here? We're going to start with the daily block reward. And this is from a fellow named Fairplay. Seems like he's been watching, enjoying, and commenting here on some videos. So this is this was a comment from them yesterday. And this was on the Satoshi Millionaire video. Can you get to 1% of a Bitcoin? So the comment here says, in just over 100 years, the whole world's Bitcoin mining equipment will be focused on finding just one Satoshi in order to complete the blockchain. There's going to be a countdown. There's going to be countdown clocks in Times Square. Big Ben will chime in London. Fireworks will explode in Singapore, South Africa, and Brazil, all for one Satoshi. There's children born this year who will be alive to witness it. And then they will wonder what might have been if they just owned that one Satoshi. 1 million sats today is the greatest blessing ever. And I did a similar post kind of in a tribute to that on Nostr today. But it's so true. I think we get so wrapped up in the fiat price, and even the show. Every morning we start the show with the price of Bitcoin. But none of it matters. We have to keep that in mind. None of that matters. It's a complete illusion. The US dollar is a failed experiment, a complete illusion from head to toe. Hello? Hello? We got Arnie there sticking his nose through the door. I'll see if he comes in or not. No, he didn't. He must be shy this morning. But that's something you have to keep in mind here. You know, Just don't pay attention to the price, regardless of what it is. Just buy. Anytime you get a chance to exchange your dollars for fiat, take the chance, which is going to pour into this next comment here. Actually, if I can find it. Okay. Hard to, I don't know what the best play is here, and maybe somebody can give me some advice on this, but I started this backup channel here called the Bitcoin Journey. I did it just in case, something happens on YouTube. I've seen too many people get censored, and I don't know. I was just kind of worried about that. So I made a backup account. I've been posting videos there every morning, and I'm sure there's people watching this on that channel right now. But it has like 600 and some subscribers right now. And I'm not sure if I just like shut it down and not make people, but divert people over to the main channel here. But anyways, yeah, yesterday on the show, our quote was from TJ Mooney. And so I talked about it. I posted the video of that. And then he had a follow-up comment here that I thought was really interesting. And so this is a follow-up to that. He said that dollars will never be profits for Satoshis, no matter what the exchange rate is. And I thought that was very interesting. Dollars will never be profits for Satoshis, no matter the exchange rate. Educated investors acquire Bitcoin to get away from dollars, not gain more. I agree 100%. Satoshi's goal was for us small guys to gather as much possible before the big money gets involved. I agree with that. And that's something that, the whole point of the show here is to educate the average person, the little guy. And I've been very inspired by a guy named Bitcoin Ben, who's kind of going down the same route in terms of really putting a focus on trying to help the little guy, because there's channels on here who are catering to the very wealthy people. I hate throwing him under the bus here, and I haven't seen too many videos of him lately, but I can never remember his name. Reddish Hodl. His channel is very focused towards the ultra wealthy, the people who have millions of dollars in assets, and he's trying to convert them over to Bitcoin. But if you're thinking in terms of where we're going here, in 100 years from now, there's going to be one Satoshi mined. The entire world's energy is going to be hooked up to mining for one Satoshi in 100 years from now. This isn't something that's like out of reach. It's not 10,000 years away. That's in 100 years from now. They're going to be mining for one Satoshi. So the best thing you can keep in mind here as we go forward and Bitcoin continues to eat everything else in its path is just get as much as you can. If you got $5, if you got $10, throw it into Bitcoin. Just get as many Satoshis as you possibly can, because as time goes by, those same dollars that you have today are going to get less and less Satoshis. And the theme today is lightning. And maybe I'll start with that, and then we can go through a few other things here, just so we're not spending too much time reading comments. But one thing I'd say to that, and a lot of people have been asking questions about UTXOs, dollar cost averaging, the best way to get into Bitcoin for the average person. And I think what I would say to that, because you kind of have two options there. The first option that you have if you're thinking far in advance, the first option that you have there is to have an exchange that you like, that you trust, and you move Bitcoin off of there onto your cold card or into a wallet. And every time you do that, you create one UTXO. So you want to have a sizable amount there before you move it. So I wouldn't suggest anything under like 200,000 sats, which is about $200 here, I think, in Canada. So if you're doing less than that, I would wait until you have a bit of a balance there. Wait until you have over 200,000 sats before you move that into your cold storage wallet. But if you understand the different layers and you have the ability to use Lightning, that's what I would suggest doing, because you could use a company like Bull Bitcoin, and there are other exchanges out there who do this, who offer Lightning withdrawals. But on Bull Bitcoin, you can actually take $5, you can take $10, $20 if you want to do like 20 bucks a day. you can move it from Bull Bitcoin directly into your Lightning wallet. And what I'd be doing there, and we talked about on the Living in the Future show yesterday, we talked about the Phoenix wallet. And I apologize to the American viewers out there right now who don't have the ability to use Phoenix, but that's what I would be doing. I would set up a Lightning wallet like Phoenix, or like Mutiny, I think is the other good one that people use, second best to Phoenix, and set up a channel there. It's going to cost you about 10,000 sats on Phoenix. And then you add some liquidity. Make sure you're adding liquidity when the fees, which we talk about every day, layer one fees, are low. So you can go on there, you can see how much it's going to cost you to buy 500,000 sats worth of liquidity, 1 million sats worth of liquidity. But then you buy that, and then every time you're sending Lightning to your Lightning wallet, it's pretty much free, because you're not going to get charged from the exchange to move it out, and you're not going to get charged to bring it into your wallet if you have it set up properly. And so with that, you could send $5, $10. You could wait till your balance accrues high enough for your $5 and $10 transactions to be like 500,000. And then once you get to that balance in your Phoenix wallet or your Mutiny wallet, whatever Lightning wallet you're using, that's when you move it from Lightning wallet to your on-chain, to your cold storage. So that's a really good way to be able to DCA without screwing yourself over in the future. So consider using Lightning for that. If you're somebody who likes the DCA every week, every month, and you don't have $1,000 or $2,000 to put in every time, consider using an exchange that allows for Lightning withdrawals. Bull Bitcoin does. And just do that. Just send it to Lightning. You pay 0 fees pretty much. And then when you have enough of a balance sitting in there, that's when you move it from Lightning to your on-chain cold storage. So keep that in mind. If anybody in the chat has any ideas for other exchanges that allow Lightning withdrawals, or other wallets for the US citizens here who can't have the Phoenix wallet. I don't think it's going to last long though, because it's an election year. It's 2024, and in the last couple weeks, we've seen the U.S. government really change their whole stance on Bitcoin, mostly because Trump came out and said that he's going to be friendly to Bitcoin. They're never going to have central bank digital currencies, and so I think that all of these apps and all these companies who have been leaving the U.S., once Trump gets back in the White House, I know we don't rely on politicians. But that's the reason why Phoenix Wallet left. That's the reason why Wallet Satoshi left the US, is because of politics, because they're scared of the regulatory bodies in the US. And so that's what I would say. This is a really good question from Kev. He says, I keep hearing that the Lightning Network is fundamentally flawed, too fragile, complicated, uneconomic for node operators. Mostly FUD or serious concerns? I would say mostly FUD. It works. I literally use Lightning every single day, and I hardly ever have any issues with it. If you get it set up properly, if you have your different wallets that you use, depending on what kind of transaction you're doing, I don't run a Lightning node yet, and I don't know that I ever will, because I don't keep much of my Bitcoin on Lightning. You have to keep in mind here that if you have Bitcoin in your Phoenix wallet, all of that Bitcoin is hot. It's on Lightning. That's why you get charged a conversion fee to swap from layer one to Lightning. So you get charged a conversion fee unless you're moving it directly from Lightning. But all of your Bitcoin on your Lightning wallet, like Phoenix, is actually hot. It's all online. None of it's on layer one. Some people don't think it's Bitcoin, but I think that it is, because you can directly swap it for Bitcoin. But people do, and maybe people understand it a little bit better than myself. But from my experiences, like an average person, I think it's incredible. And I prefer Lightning still to Liquid. I prefer it to eCash, mostly because I haven't spent enough time learning the other ones yet. But like I said, I use Lightning every single day on Nostr, on Zap.stream, with golf pools, paying for things online, whatever it is. And I hardly have any sort of issues with it. The only time you're going to have issues with Lightning is if you don't know what you're doing, and you wait until the fees are too high. Let's say that the mempool had 100 sats per VByte. That's usually when some of these Lightning channels start cramping out, which is unfortunate, because that's when you need it most. But at the same time, if you have everything set up, you're not going to get dinged any fees. You're going to have your liquidity there, and you can send it, no problem. The Phoenix wallet charges a bit of a fee on it. It's 0.04% or 0.04% of your transaction plus four sats. So Phoenix wallet, they're providing the app, they're providing the service, they're providing the liquidity. I think they have $150 million worth of Bitcoin in their Lightning node. Thank you to Noah for that. She did a quick little summary of the Mutiny interview, but I think she said that they have $150 million worth of Bitcoin in their liquidity pool. So they charge a fee, a small fee every time you move Bitcoin in and out of your Phoenix wallet. But that's part of doing business, I think. Jose says Lightning works, but managing liquidity on a Lightning node can be difficult. Yeah, it's definitely not for the average person. And that's why I like the Phoenix wallet, is just because it's so easy to use for the average person like myself. You set it up, you pay $10,000 or not $10,000, 10,000 sats, $10,000 in 10 years from now, but 10,000 sats to set up your channel. And then you fund it, you fund your liquidity. You're essentially just prepaying for it. And I like to use the analogy of like locking in an interest rate when they're low for the future. And when you set up a Phoenix wallet, you have to add liquidity in there. And essentially what you're doing there is you're paying your on-chain fees, your swap fees, when fees are low. So then it's done. So if they're 8 sats per VByte today and you set that up, you add your liquidity, you're basically locking in that rate for the next year, similar to like an interest rate with a mortgage or a loan. And then in 6 months from now, if the fees were 150 sats per VByte, you're already good to go. You don't have to worry about that. You have your Lightning node funded, your liquidity funded, and you can use it without paying any extra fees, regardless of what the mempool fees are on layer 1. So some information there, I think there's a lot of people I think that are in Bitcoin right now who own Bitcoin, hold it in cold storage or hold it on their wallet. But until you actually start using these other tools, these other layers on Bitcoin, I think you're missing out, because in 5 or 10 years from now, nobody's going to be using layer 1 to send Bitcoin. It's all going to be done on the Lightning Network or Liquid or eCash. It's going to be the countries, the big companies that are settling large amounts of transaction debt back and forth that's going to be using layer 1. Quick check over on the Zap.stream. I see some sats coming in here, which is good. The goal for today is just because we can. It's pretty incredible that we have the ability, the applications to do something like this. We couldn't do this before. You could never send a small amount of money online before. And think about how many people are using the internet now across the world. So the Bitcoin Lightning, it's going to take up all the value within the internet, because you can now send 10 sats, 20 sats worth less than a penny in fiat terms, but you can send that back and forth to each other as value using the Lightning Network. And so I think that would be something that a lot of Bitcoiners are sleeping on, is the ability to use Lightning every day for the things that they use, like Zap.stream, like Fountain, like Nostr. There's a whole nother world out there that most people have never experienced before, because they buy Bitcoin, they think that they're in Bitcoin now, but they don't even know how to send a transaction. They just moved it from the exchange to their wallet. They've actually never set a fee. They've never set up a Lightning channel. They've never done any of that. And there's so much more to explore. I would say that it's something that you should be taking slow, because things can go wrong if you're not careful. But just play around. I think that's the best thing that you can do. And that'd be my advice probably, is anytime you want to learn and become better at something, you have to invest in it. And so the investment there would be, let's say $200, I would say $300, and just set up a couple Lightning channels, set up a couple different Lightning wallets, see which one you like best, and just start using it. Consider that $200 or $300 an investment in your education on how to use your Bitcoin the most efficient way, and prepare for when the fees are an extraordinary amount. I see Whitey over in Zap.stream, Zap 69 sats. Nice. Crypto Heathen says 1 sat block reward is a bit of a stretch. No, miners will still get transaction fees. Yeah, so the 1 sat block, it's not really the block reward. It is. No, it's the subsidy. So the 1 sat would be the block subsidy. Every time there's a block mined, let's bring this up here while we're hot, while we're talking about it, because this stuff is very important to understand for any Bitcoiner. But if you go to mempool.space, if you click into one of these blocks here, this is block 845,789. This was the last block that was mined. And you can see here that there's a subsidy and fees. So with every block that's mined, the miner who mined that block, I feel like I'm saying mine a whole bunch here, but the miner who mined that block gets the subsidy plus the fees. So in this case, the subsidy is 3.125 Bitcoin every new block that's mined. That's what the miner gets, regardless of what else they do. But then they also get the transaction fees. So in this case, the total transaction fees for this block were 40 million sats, or $27,000. So the miner gets the subsidy plus the fees. So in 100 years from now, this subsidy here is going to be 1 sat. 1 sat. So that's what the miner will get as the subsidy, but then they'll be mostly relying on the transaction fees. That's where they will make their money, from mining the block. So yes, that's a good point by Crypto Heathen. That won't be like what the miners get. That's just the subsidy portion of the block reward. Good call. Just a quick point here from the plunger. I see at the bottom, the plunger. What a great name. But he says they say you are correct. The more I learn, I realize how little I know. There's honestly just so much to know in Bitcoin. So much to know. I've been in this for over 4 years now. And probably for the last 2 or 3 years of that, I've spent 4, 5, 6 hours per day just listening and learning and watching and trying to learn as much as I possibly can. And still every single day I'm learning new stuff. And I feel like I'm light years away from understanding some things in Bitcoin still. So if you're somebody who's here today as a new Bitcoiner, just be patient with it. Just give yourself a bit of slack and understand the fact that everything in life, especially Bitcoin, takes time. So don't get too far ahead of yourself. Don't get frustrated with yourself. Just stick with it. Just stick with it. Shout out also to Nate. I see you over in the great Nate. Zap 21 sats. I see Microdose over there. Zap 21 sats. Craig says he can't zap anymore. That's good for him. And my Path to Fire zapped 100 sats. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, over in the zap.stream. Just because we can, because we have the ability to do so now. Ninju says, I have a question for you. I'm planning to buy each month $1,000 for 10 years. Is this a good idea? That reminds me of a question I saw yesterday on one of my videos. There was somebody out there, and I don't know if they're a watcher of the show or not, but they said that, what was the question? They left a couple comments under some of my videos, and it was the same question under every video. I don't know if they were just trying to get my attention or if it was a bot, but the question was, do you think Bitcoin will go up this summer, go up in price this summer? And somebody else in there, I don't know who it was, but I checked one of the replies there, and all they said back was, bruh. Like BRUH. That was their reply to it. As in, I'm thinking, obviously it's going to go up this summer. And it's the same thing with this question from Ninju here. Is this a good idea? I could not think of a better idea than that in life. And keep that in mind, I think, with anything. There's just nothing that exists today, and this could change. Everything changes in life, but there's nothing that exists right now that is a better place to be storing your energy, your wealth. There's not. And if you can name one thing in life that's better than Bitcoin as an investment right now, or as a place to store your energy and your wealth, I would be very interested to hear what that is. And because you're considering both the past and the future here. The last 15 years, I think Bitcoin has been the best performing asset in 9 out of those years or 10 out of those years. And some of those years, it's not even close. Like it's 600% compared to 13% in any other asset class. So that's it. I mean, the only other investment I think that you can make would be in yourself. And I think that a lot of people also sleep on that as well. Because we're moving into a world now, and maybe this is a good transition into the next part of the show. But we're moving into a world now that's going to look completely different than it does today. We're already living in a world that looks completely different than it did 5 years ago in terms of how many people are using services like this, like YouTube, like Zoom. If you listen to that Michael Saylor interview with Peter from What Bitcoin Did, he talks about how much has changed in the last 5 years in terms of people's mentality, people's perception towards the internet, their ability to buy things online, to communicate online. That's the world that we're moving into. And so you look at everything that's happened in the last 15 years, and then you look at the world that we're moving into. The internet's going to be the currency of the internet. It already is. And so all the value from the internet is going to be put into Bitcoin. Not only all these Fortune 500 companies, all these countries mining Bitcoin, but it is going to become the currency of the internet. And so there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that Bitcoin is the best investment, but the second best investment is in yourself. And I think we're going to move away from the whole 9 to 5 structure that we've lived in for the last 50 years, probably the 9 to 5, go to work, go to the office, work for a boss. I think that whole structure is going to be completely flipped on its head with the fiat system. People are just going to work for themselves. You have your skills, you have your knowledge that you possess, that you've accrued through the years, and you're just going to contract yourself out to a bunch of different people, a bunch of different companies, a bunch of different countries. Think about a world without exchange rates and having to ask permission from your bank to send money to a different country or receive money from a different country. With Bitcoin, you don't have any of that. It's all one currency, and you can do it over the internet without anybody's permission. So people are going to be doing their own thing, starting their own business and working for themselves. It's already starting. And so the second best thing you could be doing there is investing in yourself. Whatever you like doing, become the best at it. And become so good that companies are going to be forced. If you want to be paid in Bitcoin, become valuable enough where you can just say to a company or a contractor, the company, that you want to be paid in Bitcoin. So invest in yourself and invest in Bitcoin. Those are the two best investments that you could ever make. Whatever that looks like to you. Lock Guy says, just subscribe to the channel. Good content, good streamer. I like good. I like good as well. Holy Rick. 40 watching, but only 14 likes. That's kind of sad. That's kind of sad, everybody. Great point here from My Path to Fire. He says it only takes a little bit of work to become better than 95% of the people. Yeah, I think that you just have to have a long enough time frame on it. And one of the things, and this is going to tie into today's show in terms of Earl Nightingale, but one of the things that he says is that think about 1 or 2 hours every day for 5 years. Doing, whether it's in Bitcoin, whether it's on Lightning, whether it's whatever you're passionate about. I hate the word passion, but whatever you enjoy doing, whatever gets you out of bed and whatever you're excited about doing. If you spent 1 or 2 hours every day for 5 years doing that, think about how far ahead you're going to be. Like 5 years ago today, I didn't even know what Bitcoin was. Like, that's crazy. People put too much emphasis on achieving things in 1 year, one year goals, when they should be looking over 5 and 10 years instead. And as long as they have that direction there that they're moving towards, as Earl says, that is a success. That's how you become successful, is just you have a goal. You have a direction that you're going to. So 5 years ago, I did not know what Bitcoin was. And 5 years later, I mean, things have changed a little bit here, as you can tell. Ninja says, thank you for the answer. I will use it in rough times to motivate myself. There you go. I don't want to keep working. Bitcoin is my only way to escape. Just have to grind for 10 years. Yeah. I mean, that's, we heard about a guy on the channel the other day who started buying Bitcoin in 2022, working a minimum wage job, working overtime, making bonuses, and putting as much as he possibly can into Bitcoin. And he said, as much as it's a sin to say how much you have, he said he has over half of Bitcoin now, over 50 million sats. So if you're somebody like that, if you have a full-time job, what you can be doing is putting as much of that as you possibly can into Bitcoin, converting that fiat into Bitcoin, but also in the mornings, at night, start finding ways to earn Bitcoin, whatever that looks like to you. And then just wait. Just have a long enough time frame where that shit is going to add up fast. And so his goal is to get to 1 Bitcoin, which is incredible. An incredible story. The fact that you can work a minimum wage job, and in 3 or 4 years, if you're persistent enough with it, and if you're committed to it, accruing 1 Bitcoin. I don't know how many people in this chat own 1 Bitcoin, but that's my end goal here, is to get to 1 Bitcoin. And then when I hit that goal, it's going to become 2 Bitcoin. And I understand the fact that I'm not going to be able to trade my fiat dollars to get that 2nd Bitcoin. I understand that. It's just, unless lightning really strikes me in a really weird way, there's no way I'm going to be able to exchange my fiat for that 2nd Bitcoin once I get the 1st. And so what I'm doing now to counteract that is focusing on ways to earn Bitcoin, different avenues of earning Bitcoin every day. And over a long enough time frame, it adds up. It could be 21 sats over on Zap.stream. It could be 10 sats playing solitaire. It could be 100 sats for shaking your phone. But over a long enough time frame, if you commit to it, you're going to do it. But don't go in with the intention that you're going to earn enough fiat after you pay taxes, after you go through that whole system, and then try to buy a Bitcoin with it. You need to change your mindset in terms of earning Bitcoin versus buying Bitcoin. Muslim Bitcoiner says, Bitcoin is meant to bring out the self-talent that will replace the 9-to-5 peer-to-peer service. 100%. 100%. Okay, so we kind of went on a bit of a tangent there, but that's okay. That's the beauty of the show, is live chat. It's a big part of the show. And sometimes we get a little bit off topic, but it's what we're talking about today. So the quote here is, the lightning could strike at any moment. And I first heard this quote from my favorite musician, Kip Moore. Kip Moore. I have a hard time saying it for some reason. Kip Moore. But he's my guy. I've learned a lot from him. I love his music. I've been very inspired by his journey to get to where he is. And that's one of the things that he said. And that's, I think about this a lot, because he was a guy, I don't know if you're very familiar with Kip Moore or not. Probably not, because he's not very well known. And so I'll give you a bit of a background in terms of Kip, but he's a country music guy and a rock guy, kind of like a gypsy guy almost. But he started out in country music. He had a couple hits. I think one of the songs was called Beer Money. That was his #1 song. That's what got him into the country charts. It was called Beer Money. And so whenever you have a hit like that, there's a whole bunch of these record companies, labels that are trying to sign you. And so he got a bunch of these offers from record labels, and he decided not to take any of them, because I think he did 1 record with a label, and they basically made him do a whole bunch of stuff he didn't want to do. It wasn't very authentic. He didn't feel it was genuine and authentic. So he just said, fuck it. I'm not going to sign with this record label for the next one. I'm going to do my own thing. And so he ate shit for a lot of years. And I think that a lot of musicians can kind of relate to that. Musicians is definitely something that's proof of work. There's some overnight success stories, but the majority of people, they grind their ass off for a lot of years, making hardly any money, going town to town, playing at different bars for tips for years. And that's the one thing that he said as he was going through that process, as he was going through that journey, he just kept reminding himself that lightning could strike at any moment. And it did eventually for him. And he's probably in his 40s now. And I think that he's achieved the success that he wanted to. If you go to one of his shows, the whole crowd there, it's a smaller crowd, but the whole crowd knows every single word to his songs. And so he's not filling these huge arenas and just like a whole bunch of hype around him and really fueled by the record label. He carved his own path. He went his own way. And that's the one thing that he kept reminding himself, was that lightning could strike at any moment. And it did for him. He'll never have to worry about money again. He does what he loves, but he put in a shitload of work to get to that place. And so it's the same kind of thing that, I've been going through this since I left my job, since I left my 9-to-5 job. I've been going through the same kind of thing. Just like it feels a lot like going town to town, showing up at a bar, playing for tips. That's what it feels like for me. But I keep reminding myself here that lightning could strike at any moment. And that's relevant for the Bitcoin in terms of one day it's just going to go from wherever it is today to something much higher than that. And that's how it always happens. And people are never ready for that. But also in business, in our golf company, in this channel. And sometimes you might not realize it when it happens, but when you look back, if you're just persistent enough and consistent enough, you're going to look back in one of those times where lightning struck and everything changed from there. And I feel like there's a lot of people in life, whether you do your own thing, whether you have your own business. I think that there's so many people who are so close to that moment and they give up, because it is. Nothing is easy in life. Nothing worth doing is easy. And a lot of people are so close to that lightning moment and they quit. And then they spend the rest of their lives regretting, wondering what could have been if I just pushed a little bit harder for a little bit longer. So with Bitcoin, with all this kind of stuff, I really want you to change your mindset to be 5 years, 10 years, not daily, not weekly, not even annually. Focus on what you want and point your direction there for 5 years. A couple examples here are, I'll say a few names here and when lightning struck for them. Steve Carell, I'm sure everybody knows him from The Office. Age 42, that's when that show started, when he was 42 years old. Martha Stewart was 41 when she wrote her first cookbook, I think it was. Sam Walton was 44 when he launched Walton, I think, or Walco, whatever it was before Walmart. Henry Ford was 45 when the first Model T came out. Rodney Dangerfield was 46 when he got his first break on a evening show. Harland Sanders, Colonel Sanders, was 62 when they launched the first KFC out there. 62. And Arianna Huffington was 55 when she started the Huffington Post, which later sold to Yahoo, I believe, for like $400 million. So all of those people in their 40s, and I mean, I'm not too far away from that myself, but think about the amount of work that went into that. 40 years of work for that moment, for that lightning to strike moment. And a couple things there is that you just have to keep going no matter what. And you have to keep that in mind. And I think that is something that if you are someone who wants to be doing your own thing, the best thing that you can do is just stick with it. And I'm going to play a clip here from Earl, because there might be some people out there who are going through this right now in the same kind of thing, maybe thinking about starting their own business, or maybe they've been doing something online for a while and it hasn't really caught a whole lot of traction. But I want to share something with you from Earl here. And this is a really good law of the universe that a lot of people overlook, especially in today's day and age. Everybody wants things overnight. Everybody wants to be an overnight success story, but it doesn't happen that way. And even if it does, if you look at the people who win the lottery, they're bankrupt within like a couple of years for the most part. So this is, it's probably a couple minutes here. This is our favorite guy, Earl. Look at him. I'm going to have to put this on a different feed here though. But this is what Earl has to say about what I'm talking about. And it's true. Listen to this, really think hard about it. He's talking about, I'll just let him say it because he speaks a lot better than me. So I wanted to throw the first 10 seconds in here because it might have a bit of nostalgia for you.
He takes off and every time he lands. Well, I think living successfully is as important as flying an airplane. And because of this, I think each of us needs a checklist too. And that's why there's one included with this cassette. We need a checklist to go over item by item before we take off in the morning and before we drop off to sleep every night. So I want to recommend that you affix the checklist to your bathroom mirror. Stare at it as you brush your teeth in the morning and stare at it again as you prepare for bed at night. Go over each item, and as you do, think of what each item represents. Now here's number one. It's the formula for getting rich. It also explains why you're in your present position, whether you're earning $6,000 a year or $16,000 or $6,000.
Okay, this is the part right here. He goes through, I think, several of these. We're just going to listen to the first one, maybe the second one, but the first one is the ingredient to success, financial success.
60,000 or 600,000. It applies to every adult, whether he's employed or unemployed. It applies to the richest man and to the poorest and every person in between. And here it is. Our rewards in life will always be in exact proportion to our contribution, our service. Now that's what the formula means as the first item on your checklist. Memorize it. Our rewards in life will always be in exact proportion to our contribution, our service. Listen to it, think about it until you know it emotionally as well as intellectually. It might give you some slight feeling of superiority to realize that there's probably not another man within a mile of where you live who knows it. You can add it as a question on your survey if you want proof of that. If you want it in another form, here it is as it applies to a man's job. It's the same thing really, the same thing applies, but you can express it differently. The money you're paid by the company you work for will always be in direct ratio to the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the degree of difficulty involved in replacing you. Maybe you want to write the formula down in both of its forms and think about it until it's as much a part of you as your name. The reason it isn't spelled out on your checklist is because you might not want everyone to know what you're up to. The checklist is valuable only to a person who knows what the words really indicate. All right, you've got the formula. As you think about it, its meaning will become clearer to you. With the formula, there are two rules which must be applied to properly use it. This formula, together with the two rules, is your recipe or your roadmap to earning all the money you really want. Now let's take a look at item number 2 on your checklist. And I'm serious about your putting this checklist on your mirror. You'll notice it's pressure sensitive. Item number 2, the gold mine. The Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright Archibald MacLeish in his play The Secret of Freedom wrote, "The only thing about a man that is a man is his mind. Everything else you can find in a pig or a horse." Strong words, aren't they? But as long as you live, you'll never hear a truer statement. The key to every human being's success lies in his mind, the gold mine between his ears. One idea can make you rich. A lot of good ideas can move you steadily upward in the work you do, and ideas are free. Now just think, there's nothing now being done commercially that will not be done better, much better in the years ahead. Next year's homes and most of what's in them will be better than this year's. Next year's cars will be better. Next year's manufacturing, distributing, marketing, and selling and advertising should be better. Nothing is now being done as well as it must be done in the future, and every innovation, every new improvement will be somebody's brainchild. Now, what's your specialty? How many good ideas have you come up with during the past year? If you continue on as you have in the past, where will you be and what will you be earning, say, a year from now, 5 years from now? Every day of our lives, we walk or drive by more opportunity than we could develop in a lifetime, in 50 lifetimes. Back in the 20s, Sinclair Lewis wrote that you can kidnap a man, blindfold him, take him to any city in the country with a couple of notable exceptions, put him in a chair in the downtown area, take off his blindfold, and he could sit there a week and not be able to tell you what town he's in. The streets are all alike. The buildings are all alike. The businesses all look alike. This is still largely true today. The reason for this being that most businessmen in this country are playing a game called follow the follower. If a man goes into business, no matter what line it happens to be, the first thing he does is make certain that his place of business, outside and inside, looks exactly like every other place of business of that type in the country. Do you know why? It's because he's been playing copycat since he was a year old and does it without thinking about it. For the same reason kids dress alike in school. He wants to be one of the gang. He doesn't necessarily examine all the business establishments in his field and pattern his on the one outstanding example, the one that inspires him, the one that he can really believe in. He just does what everybody else in his business is doing, and by this simple process, he guarantees his own mediocrity. Whose drum are you marching to, if indeed you're marching to anyone's, and why? Remember, whatever you now do for a living will be done differently, quite differently a few years from now. Never in the history of mankind have the opportunities for all of us been so great. But the great majority of people will be the beneficiaries of progress, not those who bring it about. Which group are you going to belong to? If you want to be a contributor, not just a beneficiary, here's the first rule. It appears on your checklist as the gold mine. So, think. Think deliberately and with a purpose. Use the gold mine between your ears. Begin by thinking at a special time every day. Back during the Depression, a New York lumber dealer was growing.
God, I love Earl. We could listen to that the whole time. It's Change Your Life in 19 Minutes with Earl Nightingale. I highly encourage you to watch that whole thing. I highly encourage you to watch it once every week for 6 months, and it will actually change your life. That knowledge is from 100 years ago, and it's still incredibly relevant today. You hear all these different phrases and expressions and terms, and a lot of them are true, like old wisdom. They stay true through time. And everybody nowadays wants the shortcut. They want the hacks. And I think that if you're somebody out there who's willing to put in the time and be patient and persistent and figure out what you want, and as you said there, be different than everybody else. If you want to be like the 95%, then you invest like them, you create businesses like them, you do what the 95% of people are doing, and you're always going to be in that mediocrity. But if you want to be in the 5%, you have to do things differently. You have to commit to something and do it every single day. So a ton of different, I didn't even know he was going to talk about the gold mine there in the second one. The one I wanted to pay attention to there was the direct relationship between the rewards you receive is in direct proportion to the value that you give. In anything, there's absolutely no exceptions to that. And people try to shortcut it. People try to come up with these different ways of going around that. But in the end, over time, that law always comes out ahead. The amount of rewards that you receive is in direct proportion to the value that you give. So think about that. I would encourage you right after the show or sometime today, go on YouTube, find that video, Change Your Life in 19 Minutes with Earl Nightingale, and just start thinking about it. We're moving into a different world here. As he said, everything changes. Every year, things are going to be easier. And that's what has happened. Unfortunately, we're valuing everything in a fiat dollar where things actually get more expensive than cheaper. You know, you'd think that with all this technology that we have, the amount of money that's saving companies, instead of having humans do it and paying all this admin fees, we have robots to do it now and AI, things would get cheaper. But because we're still living in that fiat system, things are actually getting more expensive for some reason, which doesn't make sense. And over time, that's going to fail, and we're going to move into this new world of Bitcoin. But think about the fact that everything we've done for the last 50 years has been human labor, laborious jobs, laborious work. That's how people earn money, is by doing labor. And all that's going to be replaced by robots and AI. And so you need to start, instead of focusing your energy on the labor aspect of things, focus on the creative part of things. And one easy thing that, I wouldn't say it's easy, but one thing you could do is every single day, take a notepad. I have 100 of these notepads. Take some of these notepads and write down 10 things every day, 10 ideas, anything. Could be, you know, if you had a YouTube channel, what's 10 things I would talk about? If there's a business down the road, 10 things that they could do to increase their sales this year. Just do it every single day. And a lot of the ideas, a lot of the things you write down are going to be garbage, absolute garbage. But the point here isn't to find that one idea. Maybe it is, maybe you find it, but the point isn't that's not the point of this. The point is to build your creative muscles, because they're going to be the most important thing you have in the future, along with your network and your community of Bitcoiners. Your creativity, your ability to think differently, and your network, that's what is going to have value in this new system, this new economy. So think about that. I just think that there's a lot of people out there right now, including probably people watching this show today, who are very focused on just exchanging their time for fiat and getting as much Bitcoin as possible with that. But I think you have to start thinking a little bit differently and understand what we're moving through here and figure out how to best prepare for that in the future. Ninja says, what do you mean by saying earning against buying? Well, most people are buying. Most people go to work, or they have some sort of income coming in fiat. And then they use an exchange like Bull Bitcoin or Coinbase or River. They exchange those dollars for Bitcoin, and that's buying Bitcoin. But in terms of earning Bitcoin, there's many ways to do it. And we're going through a challenge right now over on the Living in the Future tier, where we're earning 100 sats per day for 100 days, building that habit and finding as many different avenues of earning Bitcoin as possible. So we all have a spreadsheet in here. I'll take a quick look at it to give some examples. So my spreadsheet here, I have the date. I have the sats earned from Fountain, from Nostr, from Club Bitcoin solitaire game, from ShakePay, from Zap.stream, and then other. So every day I record how many sats I earn from each of those platforms. And then you get in a habit of just doing that every single day. And if you think in a long enough time horizon here, 5 years, think about how much that's going to add up. So for an example here, I mean, I don't love sharing any actual numbers in Bitcoin, but I think it's kind of relevant here. So we've been doing this since May 21st for the last 9 days. And so far, between all of these different platforms, I've earned 27,000 sats. So if you're in agreements with me in terms of one sat is going to equal $1 at some point, some year from now, then that's a pretty good week by playing solitaire, by listening to podcasts, by shaking my phone, by making posts on Nostr. I mean, a lot of it, some of it has more value than others, obviously, like doing the show, Zap.stream. People get value from it. They give value back from it. But some of the things are just so easy. And I think that people really sleep on how many free Bitcoin opportunities there are right now, because it's only like, what, 10 sats per day, 20 sats per day. They see the fiat price and they think it's not worth their time. But if you're living in a future like that, if you're living in a world already in your mind where one sat equals $1, then that's a pretty good week. $27,000 or $27,000 worth of purchasing power. That's kind of what I'm going with. So I know that I missed a few things here, and I apologize for that. There was a couple things that I wanted to talk about, but maybe we'll save it for tomorrow. Sorry, I got a couple things happening over here in Zap.stream. What I can't see, it just says NPub16 said, when I was young, there was no internet. Now my children are internet native. I firmly believe that their children will be Bitcoin native and not be able to comprehend a world without Bitcoin. That's what we hope for. That was Matt. Sorry, I just had to refresh there. That was Matt. And it's true. And Earl said it perfectly in that video. Technology only moves one way. Things are only going to get more productive as we move forward here. And if you're somebody who's holding Bitcoin right now, you're going to have such a huge advantage and so much leverage in the future to be able to use that Bitcoin for your purchasing power, to hire people, to pay your AI, your robots, whatever part of your business is functioning with that. AI is going to be accepting Bitcoin. It is the native currency of the internet. Everybody uses the internet now. And it's not going to be accepting Canadian dollars, depending on which AI it is, or US dollars. It's all going to be Bitcoin. And less than 1% of people own Bitcoin right now. And so just think about how much an advantage you have and use that as motivation to just accrue as much as you possibly can at this stage. So that's what I mean by that. Just start earning Bitcoin, even if it's in small amounts. Even if you just take like the year, try to find as many different avenues as you can to earn Bitcoin every day, but start tracking it. That's the one thing that I love about this community here is we hold each other accountable to things. And it's much different when you can see it in a spreadsheet version versus just sats coming into your wallet every day. When you can see that, how much you're making from these different things, it's worth your time. And you can see if you're earning 10 sats over here versus 1,000 sats over here, then you put more of your time and energy to the ones that you're earning more sats in, right? It's a better use of your time. But get into that mentality of trying to earn, even in very small amounts. As Praven says here, Praven, every sat is so valuable. And it is. Muslim Bitcoiner says, on a religious note, all the prophets got their prophethood after 40. Proof of work is universal and ancient. That's a perfect comment. Christian says, I don't have the link. I can post the link over in zap.stream. So that might be a good way, a good motivation for people to get over to zap.stream is to find the link. But you can also just search it in YouTube. So the link, I just shared it over in zap.stream there. So you can click that. And to find that, literally all you have to do is go to zap.stream. You'll find the video right at the top. Click into that. Or you can go to bitcoinjourney.ca/stream. So if you're somebody who's been enjoying the channel here and showing up in the YouTube every day, consider maybe 1 day a week, maybe 2 days a week, consider joining or hopping onto zap.stream because we have to start using this stuff. So it's important of our future here moving forward. MRNC says, I'm late. What did I miss other than stack sats? Earn sats. You missed a lot. It was a good show today. Silver Fox says, would you borrow against your Bitcoin in the future instead of selling 5 or 10%? I don't know. That's kind of where okay, well, we're already over an hour, so we might as well just keep this train going. That's where I struggle because I understand the fact that if we want Bitcoin to succeed, not only do we need to use platforms like Fountain, like Zap.stream, like Nostr, but we also have to spend our Bitcoin with businesses. So in the last couple months, I bought a t-shirt, I bought golf tees, I bought honey, all online using Bitcoin because I want to support the businesses who have gone through the trouble, because it's not easy. It's much easier to just live in the fiat world and see your purchasing power slowly go down over time. But for the businesses who have taken the time to accept Bitcoin, I want to support them. And coffee too. Coffee is another one. So that's where my internal struggle is like, I understand that every sat is so valuable and I should keep 100% of my Bitcoin. But at the same time, I want to spend some of my Bitcoin to support other Bitcoiners to push this whole thing forward. So, I mean, in terms of borrowing, yeah, I mean, it really depends. It depends what your gut says. It depends on your goals and your mindset yourself. But for me, I like spending some Bitcoin just to push this thing forward. Ninja says, do you have the name of the shaking app? It's Canadian only. It's called ShakePay. I don't think I have a referral link in the description, but reach out to me, 88sats@proton.me. And everything that you need to know, any way you want to contact me, if you want to support the show, anyway, you can always find the information in the description below. And if you're over on zap.stream, I have a couple different links at the bottom of the page there now. Lucky number 83 says, first time on zap.stream. Hello. That's worth a little bit of a zap for taking some initiative. See if it works. I think if you sign up with zap.stream, they automatically give you a Lightning wallet. I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong. So they just got their first zap over on zap.stream for taking the initiative of going over there. Yeah, and this is a good strategy too. This is kind of something else you could work into that in terms of borrowing against your 5 or 10%, is just buying and replacing. And I did a video. It actually got a lot of really good feedback on it a couple months ago. But instead of like, let's say you have a $2,000 a month budget for groceries, for gas, for all these other things. If you use an app like ShakePay, and at the beginning of every month, you buy Bitcoin with that, the money that you would have been spending otherwise, your monthly expense budget, hold that in Bitcoin. And for the most part, you'll actually gain your purchasing power from that. So you're using Bitcoin to fight inflation, essentially, increase your purchasing power throughout the month. But you can also, as Praven says here, you can just buy and replace it. So if you want to buy a t-shirt online using Lightning to support that business, you can just buy it and then buy some Bitcoin and replenish it, essentially. So this probably is the best strategy, borrowing your 5 or 10% versus spending it or selling it. That's probably best. If you're thinking long enough here, like these sats are so valuable, and it's fun because you can still replace them. You can still earn them quite easily now. And so I have no issues zapping people and buying things online with it. But make sure you keep that 90% of your Bitcoin forever. That's your family's Bitcoin. And not everybody has that sort of, drive within them. I think that there's a lot of people out there who are going to memorize their private keys and take it with them to the grave. I'm not one of those people. I'm looking at this thing for the next 1,000 years. And tomorrow or the next day, we're going to watch a video on here that I saw yesterday. And it's about your life and your earnings and what you buy and what you take to the grave with you. But we're kind of over time here already. So tomorrow is Friday. Tomorrow is going to be our live Q&A like we do every week on the show. And so what I would say for anybody who's new to the channel here, you can either send an email to 88sats@proton.me with a question, and we'll talk about tomorrow. You can leave a comment on one of the videos, this video or any video, and we might find time to talk about it. I already have about 10 comments from people on YouTube for tomorrow, but I want to give preference to the people who show up in the chat or send an email or a boost on Fountain. So if you have any questions, anything you want to talk about tomorrow in terms of Bitcoin, business stuff, Earl, whatever that may be, tomorrow we're going to go through the live Q&A. So one last time here, I think that I did put this in the description below here today, but I did an interview, my second ever interview, with a guy named V Trades is his name. And so one thing to ask of you. Don't know what happened there. Are we back? I think we're back. But the one thing that I have a question and a favor to ask of you. Yesterday, I talked about the interview that I did with V. It was a pretty good interview. It's about an hour long. We talked about a bunch of different things: Bitcoin, the future, nostr, earning Bitcoin. It was a pretty good interview. And so I got the link in the description below. Check out the video, consider watching it today. But if not, I mean, my ask of you today is just to go in that comment, give it a like, share it with a friend, and leave a comment on there. If you enjoyed it, if you watch it and you enjoyed it, leave a comment below there. And what that's going to do is it's going to help get in front of more eyes. And the more people we can have watching this kind of content, that's logic, common sense, not much hype, not selling anything here, just good information. And so if you can do that today, just leave a little comment, anything you want, maybe just a heart, whatever, but it just helps it get in front of more eyes. And so that the link is below. That's my one ask of you today. Check out that video. And if you don't mind, just leave a comment under there. And big shout out to everybody in the Living in the Future community who did do that yesterday when I asked them to. I appreciate it. That's what I will say. So with that, I got to get going here. It's so rainy and I'm supposed to golf tonight. It's supposed to be the perfect weather for golf, rain and wind. So that's what I got to look forward to today. I'm heading into the city. I got to do some stuff and then hit the road. But we will be back tomorrow. So once again, I appreciate everybody, even in the YouTube chat, but especially those over in the Zap stream, the people who sent some zaps today, and the people who just showed up, and the ones who actually migrated from YouTube over to Zap stream. I think once you're there, once you take that first step, you'll never go back to YouTube. So thanks for the good chat today. Thanks for the interactions. And just thanks for being here. I appreciate everybody more than you know. So have a great Thursday. Consider watching that Earl Nightingale. Consider watching the interview with V. And if you don't mind, leave a nice little comment there so we can get this stuff in front of more eyes. So that's it. Have the best day of your life today, because why the heck wouldn't you? We'll see you right back here first thing tomorrow for Friday live Q&A, 9 a.m. Eastern time. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.